Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session,
Oh gosh,
ChatGPT.
sorry. Sorry, Mr.
Uh,
Nkosi.
yes, Miss.
Sorry, Mr. Nkosi. I just realized I had not put on
Yes, yeah, like you were talking, and I think your network, and then yeah.
No, I actually just realized that my mic was off. Sorry.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I'm back.
Okay, then you
Um,
can go ahead
yeah,
and
thank you.
introduce the session.
All right, thank you. Um, yes, good morning, everyone. Warm welcome from the Research Capacity Development Unit. My name is Tebogo Mogogong. Um, We are going to start the session. I will start by introducing our guest speaker and reading her bio, and then I'll hand over to her to proceed. I see we already have a couple of questions. Mike, good morning. Will this be recorded and posted online? Yes, it will be recorded. The session has already, we've already started recording the session. So it will be available and posted in all the relevant Blackboard communities that the Research Capacity Development has. So yes, let us start. Um, Prof. Grace is an associate professor at the Academy of Computer Science and Software Engineering, where she lectures on software engineering, IT, ethical and legal matters, and digital forensics. Her research interests are largely focused on the application of artificial intelligence in the domains of cybersecurity and education. She currently serves as Vice Dean Teaching and Learning for the Faculty of Science. Prof. Grace, good morning, and thank you once again for honoring our invitation. I will now hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Toboko. Good morning, everyone. I am very pleased to be given the opportunity to present to you. I'm just going to show my face so you at least know that I'm not AI, because in this day and age, you actually don't know who you're interacting with. Is it a real person, or is it someone pretending to be someone else, or an actual AI avatar? So today, just before I get started with the session, what I would like to do is just throw up a poll just to get a sense of where everyone is in terms of their experience with ChatGPT. So I've started the poll. It should have popped up in your windows. So if you don't mind, just do a little bit of a voting so I can get a sense of who the audience is so that I can adjust and adapt this presentation to suit your needs. Right, so thank you to the people who voted so far. I'm going to give it a few more minutes. Well, not a few more minutes, but just about a minute or so that we can get as many people responding as possible, so I can then give you all a sense of what the audience is, where you are as individuals. And then the other thing I would like to also ask you to do is, as I go along, please feel free to raise your hand, ask questions if you have anything that's not clear to you, or if while I am talking about this you might have a question. Please feel free to ask. You can also provide it in the chat. I'll be monitoring that, just to get a sense of, and the idea of the session really is to help you as much as possible. And where I'm coming from is I'm going to try and make this as practical as possible. I'm going to be showing you examples of it as we go along, as well as if you and actually I want to show you that this isn't just going to be a ChatGPT presentation. It is going to be about ChatGPT and similar technologies that can be used to assist you with your day-to-day research. All right, so I think the activity has stopped more or less. So if I now show the responses to everyone, you will see that primarily we've got the most of the people have indicated that they have heard of ChatGPT, but they have not tried it themselves. The next highest are the people who said it's been helping you with some of your research writing. The next is you have used it for fun. And then there's a smaller group have said that they do not know what it is. And that's perfectly fine. So with that in mind, I will go through it. And the idea is not to have this as a computer science lecture and bore you to tears. You don't need to know that. But I would like to tell you where it gets its information from, because I think as researchers, if you were doing normal research without ChatGPT, what you would normally be expected to verify your sources. So if that is the case, and you are just asking ChatGPT to do most of the legwork for you without verifying it, you would be in trouble if some of those sources turn out to be either made up or horribly inaccurate. All right, so I am going to now just stop this poll, and then let's share my screen. So I'm going to share my entire screen. Let me get to that. Entire screen, screen 2. So hopefully you are going to see it, and I'm just going to turn my camera off because you verified that I am a real person now. All right, so as I said, ChatGPT, what you need to know. And again, please feel free to raise your hand, ask questions, or type them in. So let's start off with this question. Now, I know there are a number of people who said they actually do not know what ChatGPT is, and that's fine. For the people who say yes, they have heard about it, because this is about research, I want you to share with me, well, I assume you've heard that ChatGPT is amazing, and that's why you're here. You want to know, how is this going to help me become a more productive researcher? So, what are some of the things you have heard that it can do for your research? All right, so Dudu says it's a research assistant on steroids. Okay, anybody else? Dudu, I think you might have summed up what most people have heard, and for the people who haven't heard and they said, listen, I don't actually know what ChatGPT is about, now you go, it's a research assistant on steroids. And Elisa is saying that it helps him with grammar. Ron says it's a chatbot. All right, these are all very correct. Anything else? But Ron, I think you're going to have to give me a little bit more feedback on this. So you reckon it's a chatbot. And if it's a chatbot, how does a chatbot assist you with your research specifically? All right. Terry mentions that it's a sophisticated plagiarism technology. Okay, kidding, but in some ways. All right. And Vincent says it's autopilot. Again, autopilot. Autopilot to do what for your research? Is it going to you sit at your table and then you say, right, your computer, and you crack your knuckles and you go, all right, ChatGPT, today I want to do research on a certain topic, and you do all the work, and I just press buttons and then you do it and it happens. All right. Okay. So Monabisa says it's somewhat of a sounding board, yes. And Ron says it's a synthesis of different pieces of evidence. All right. So for those of you who have heard, or perhaps you've been using ChatGPT, that is effectively some of the things you've heard of, and maybe it's true, or maybe perhaps you go, yes, it's definitely true. But then the other question you want to ask is, how good is it at doing that? All right. So my next slide, I actually said, is where are you? Now, the first question is, what is your level of experience with ChatGPT? We already asked it in the poll, and in a way you've also answered, have you played or worked with it? And the last question is the one I'm actually more interested in, and that is, have you used other similar tools like ChatGPT? So that I think that for those of you who have, now it's something of a co-pilot, it's assisting you with your write-up, it's assisting you with finding information, it fixes your grammar for you. What are the other tools that you've used that do exactly these things? All right, So Cohen is saying bot. All right. Dudu is like, I Google ChatGPT competitors, and there seems to be at least 10 other chatbots. And I suppose Dudu, you've Googled it. You saw there's at least 10 other chatbots. Have you tried them out? Have you looked at them? For those of you who are researchers who are very curious about, well, which tool is the right one for your, to suit your needs, have you tried these out, or have you just got, no, you know what, ChatGPT is what everybody else has been saying, therefore it is the one I shall use. All right, now TT Mohla said Bing the chatbot, yes. And Tandeka says, I've used it to look for content that I can reference using articles or other sources, because also it is important to check the credibility of the information it provides. And then Ron says they've also tried Fresh Chat. All right. So I do see that a number of you are talking about, okay, I've been testing other chat applications that, and I wonder if you've been using these, have they been good for your research? That is the big question, because at the end of the day, what is the purpose of a chatbot? Does anyone know? What is the purpose of a chatbot? So if you think about it, a chatbot, if you think the name, it's meant to have conversations with you. So obviously the question is, if you're having conversations with each other, how is it helping you with your research? Right. Okay, XM Lalo is saying, what is ChatGPT? And Ron is also talking about asking questions mostly. All right. Monobito says it is a language processing tool. Right. So some of you have indicated that you have been using ChatGPT. Is there a question from someone? No. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Well, it's jack of all trades. That's what Senzo's saying. Right. So some of you, as I said, have been using ChatGPT. You've indicated you've been using ChatGPT for to assist with your writing, and some of you have indicated already how you've been using it. You've been using it for you to synthesize your ideas. Some of you said, well, I'm using it to fix my grammar. And so my question then is, what do you think, or what do you know is the position of academia and publishers who are there to publicize your research? So if you were working on a research paper, or you're working on your master's or dissertation, what do you think, or what do you know is the position that your supervisors or the people who are behind, at the publishing firms, what do you think their position is regarding the use of ChatGPT? So let's put it this way. You are using ChatGPT to assist you with your writing. And when you say assist, obviously assist can be can be a very broad use of the term. I mean, for some of you might say, listen, it's just helping me with my grammar. Others might say, I don't quite know how to write that in a way that makes sense for my community. So I just need ChatGPT to try and put it in better words for me, perhaps. So that's the one possibility. Another one is like, you know what, ChatGPT, you go and churn out the content for me because I can't be bothered there. All right. And so Ron has mentioned majority of our supervisors and professors are anti-ChatGPT. Ernest says, what does the UJ say about ChatGPT, ChatGPT content and plagiarism? And Vincent says it could denigrate analytical skills and critical thinking skills. So I think the view, and a number of academics are worried about plagiarism. And the thing is, if you think about the view of most academics or publishing houses, is effectively if you and some people are not ashamed of putting it there. So there have been a number of articles that were submitted to publishers saying, you list yourself as the author, and then you put there ChatGPT also helps. So I'm going to let it indicate that it was author number 3 or 4, so on in your research paper. And just so you know, the publishers have also said, no, we don't like this. Now, why do you think this is the case? And all of you, and this is not a lecture about plagiarism, so hopefully you know why plagiarism is a no-no. But here's the issue with using ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, as someone has asked, is what is ChatGPT? Is yes, it is a chatbot. Now, what is a chatbot? I will show you I'll show you ChatGPT in action now. It's really meant to be a conversation. It's a piece of software that is capable of having conversations with another, well, hopefully person in your case. So when you fire up ChatGPT and you start conversing with it by typing text prompt, the idea of a chatbot is it's supposed to be able to hold a conversation with you, so when you go, hello, how are you doing? It should be able to respond, and it should respond in a way that is almost human. And then the aim of a chatbot, for it to have a proper conversation, is that it's able to understand what you say to it and respond appropriately. So if I had asked you a question and I said, good morning. And then you all go, well, obviously the response to good morning is good morning. And then I go, how has your day been? And then you go, the maths test was very complicated. I found it, and I'm like, what? Wait. How does that have to do with asking you what your day how your day's been? If that makes sense. Right. I think there is someone whose microphone is on. Let's just check. Okay. Okay, never mind. All right. So, Ryan also mentions, I think we should use ChatGPT as a tool like your Grammarly, Mendeley, etc. You have to do the work and not have the chatbot do the work for you. I absolutely agree with you. And Terry says, I sit on the editorial board of a journal and we don't know which position to take on it, so the session will be helpful. All right. So the idea is your chatbots are supposed to be able to hold conversations with you. But where does it get its information from? Or how does it know how to converse with you? How is it that it's able to know so much about so many things out there? And I am going to talk about that today. All right. So my next slide is to verify where does ChatGPT get its answers from. And I am going to show you ChatGPT. So for those of you who have not actually used ChatGPT before, you can find ChatGPT using this URL. So I'm going to just paste it in here in the chat window. What I'll do is I'll log out so that everyone can see what it would look like from the start. Trying to log out. Looks like it's ChatGPT does not want me to log out. So let me try. Okay, nope, doesn't want me to log out. I normally have, okay, there we go. So, yes, Mr. SC Sinde, go ahead.
No, I wanted to make just a quick suggestion, maybe also for future. I see you came right. Opening incognito would allow you to open any.
Right. Yeah. Okay. The reason why I actually have this open here with
as a new.
Yeah. No, the reason why I have it here like this is because I do need to be logged in. I have a whole bunch of other things logged in. But thank you for your suggestion. Okay. So normally, if you look for ChatGPT, here it is. You can go to chat.openai.com. Now, just a little bit of background about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the chatbot version. So it is one of a number of products that the company OpenAI has created. And so all these different tools that they have on their website is pretty much in development. Now, ChatGPT itself is listed as a almost like a prototype device, and it's a research device. It's a research feature that they have. So when you use it, I would say your mileage will vary, because don't expect this to be the most amazing polished product in the world. There are bugs in the system, and some of the bugs in the system include every now and then when you're busy using the system, it's overloaded because everybody else is on the same system and it stops responding. Or it gives you, and I think your more immediate concerns is it gives you incorrect or inaccurate answers or responses. And one thing it does do very badly is it sucks at mathematics. So for those of you who are not that great with maths, don't worry, ChatGPT is also terrible. All right, so now over here, if you log in, now if you haven't logged in before, so for those of you who have no idea what ChatGPT is, and now you're here, you would have to click on the sign up button, but I am going to log in, and I am going to just continue with Google using my UJ email address. All right, so when I log in, here is my version. Now you'll see that I have ChatGPT Plus. So I have actually paid for a subscription. And the reason why I have paid for the subscription, which is $20 a month, is because I am using it for demonstrations like this, and it would be very awkward if this morning ChatGPT happens to be very busy, and now when I log in and they go, sorry, the servers are busy, you cannot get access to ChatGPT. So for my purposes, I actually have a subscription. Now, if you are using the subscription, one option that you have is up here. You can see it says model. It says default ChatGPT 3.5, and you will notice that I have access to GPT-4, which is the latest version of the underlying technology that powers this chatbot. All right. So ChatGPT is using a technology. It's called GPT, and there are different versions of the GPT. 3.5 is the one that was launched last November with ChatGPT, and this is the one that everyone's going, whoa, this is amazing. But GPT-4, which came out a few months ago, this is the one that has been better trained, and so it has access to it has more insight. It's supposed to be more accurate. It's supposed to be better. And you can see here, according to this little graph on the left, there's a little bar chart. Its reasoning capabilities is a lot better as opposed to the GPT 3.5. But you will also notice that GPT 3.5 is faster than GPT-4. Now, when we talk about speed, it's in terms of the response, how long it takes for its response to come back to you. Right, so because this is a chatbot, I'm going to just use normal ChatGPT 3.5. And for those of you who are wondering, well, what is this ChatGPT about? I would like to invite you to give me a topic that so someone doing some research somewhere, give me a topic that you would like me to maybe cover for the purpose of this example today. All right, so while someone is coming up with an example, transformative tourism, let's do that. All right, so Tanzeka, thank you very much. Let's do transformative tourism. All right, so let's say I am going to do research in transformative tourism. I can do the following. And remember, when you type messages with this chatbot, you are if you were looking up transformative tourism in your normal Google search, or when you access the databases, you would type exactly that. You would type in transformative tourism as your keywords, and then what happens is you would look for maybe Google or Bing, or even going into your libraries, UJ libraries databases, you look up transformative tourism, it comes back with a list of links and says, here are some resources that we think match what you are looking for. All right. And so I see load shedding is something that everyone is very, very concerned about, but we can talk about that. All right, so let's say, okay, fine, let's do load shedding as a conversation starter. So I am going to chat, and the way you chat with the ChatGPT, you can have it as a conversation like you were talking to a real person, by the way. So I can say, good morning, all right, let's see what they're going to do. Good morning, how can I assist you? All right, so it's very conversation. I would like to know if you have any ideas on how South Africa can fix this load shedding problem. All right. And you can see that ChatGPT is effectively coming up with some solutions. Now, for those of you who are experts or investigating or studying the load shedding as an issue, perhaps you can take a look and see whether or not you agree that these are doable solutions or just really not so impressive, but okay, you'll give it that. So this is just to give you an idea of what ChatGPT can do. It can have a conversation with you. I also noticed that my computer is telling me that my connection is not so great, but let's hope it survives the rest of today's session. So here, like, okay, I see Tabiso saying it's amazing. Okay, so you're impressed and you're like, okay, all right. Now, this is just to give you an idea of what ChatGPT can do. But you might be wondering, how does ChatGPT know? Like, how does it get this information and realize, wow, why does it know this? Because if I were to speak to you as human beings and I ask you, tell me how you would solve load shedding, it actually depends on your knowledge. So in other words, what I mean is you need to have read or you need to have experienced load shedding itself in order for you to give me an answer. So where does this chatbot get this information from? And for GPT 3.5, it gets this information largely from the internet, but it is a curated internet. So there is a organization called Common Crawl, and what they do is they go through the internet, they collect all the things that have been published on the internet, and they try, and I put great emphasis on the word try, they try to curate the information so that if there's content on the internet, and you all know what I mean, there's quite some interesting content on the internet that you would go, no, I don't think this is good information, or you go, oh, I think this is very dodgy. All right. It is very so the curates information and it tries to remove the information that's not desirable, if I can put it that way. And it also and now before I go here, I want to ask you all, how do your supervisors, or how do you, if you're a supervisor yourself or a publisher or someone on board, feel if someone were to use Wikipedia as a reference? What are your views? So can you or should you be using Wikipedia as a reference?
That's a no-no.
Is it a no-no? Ah, I see. Oh, some of you say, yes, I use it, and then something like, okay, so let me tell you how I see it. I go, well, if I absolutely have no idea about a certain topic, I might go and look at Wikipedia as a starting point. I like go to Wikipedia and I go, tell me more about load shedding. And I read up everything. And then I go, oh, okay, I've got some basic idea, but I'm not going to use it as my reference point. I now have a starting point. So I'm going to go and look up further ideas because perhaps I don't know what load shedding is whatsoever. Then I at least get a sense of, oh, it's to do with power, it's to do with electricity shortage, etc., etc. And then I then start looking up the other topics from there. So expanding from there, so to speak. And the reason why I asked this is because ChatGPT gets information from the internet, largely from the internet. It gets some of its information from books, and it gets its information also from Wikipedia. And then there's a few sources, but it's a minority, a small fraction of the sources come from other. And so all it's done is GPT, the technology there, has gone and taken a look at all this content, the internet, Wikipedia, books and other sources, and it's analyzed all this content. So imagine if I put you in a room and I say, you are stuck here, and I've given you all the internet to read, Wikipedia and a bunch of books and some sources, and I say, do all the reading there, and then you read all this. And this is, and because I locked you in a room and I said, this is all the information you get to know, then that is everything you have knowledge of. You don't have knowledge outside of that. All right. And so, one other thing I need to point out to you is GPT has been trained on this content, which was collected up until, and I believe the date is September 2021. So, if I clear this conversation or I start a new chat, because it's a different topic, I am going to ask this question. Who owns Twitter? Now, if I ask you as human beings, who owns Twitter? I believe you know the answer, right? And the reason why I'm asking this specific question of who owns Twitter is to do with what I just said, which is GPT trained off data up until September 2021. So if I ask you now who owns Twitter, I believe you all will know that the answer is Elon Musk. However, if I ask ChatGPT, they go and they say, as of my knowledge, cut off of September 2021. You see, they're very careful. ChatGPT is trying to tell you, listen, as far as I know, which is up to September 2021, Twitter is a publicly traded company, meaning it is owned by shareholders. And you know that since then, that ship has sailed. It is now owned by Elon Musk. It's private. It is not it's not publicly traded anymore. And so here is one point I want you all to realize. When you're doing research and you're doing cutting edge research, ChatGPT is really not the way to go, because it's not going to be able to reference these latest and greatest and cutting edge articles that your supervisor may expect you to have. All right. So Gwen's asking who owns ChatGPT. Well, Elon Musk actually is one of the earlier investors in ChatGPT. Microsoft has also recently dropped a few $1 billion into ChatGPT's company OpenAI to get the rights to ChatGPT. And so I suspect in the next few months to come, if not sooner, when you log into your Office 365, you're going to find that ChatGPT is going to be sitting right next to you and going, hello, good morning, let me help you write some stuff. And because Microsoft has purchased ChatGPT. All right. Okay. All right. Yes, someone had a hand up, which just popped up and did. Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to just get clarity. Does this same information apply of cutoff date being September 2021 to GPT-4.4, for the new version of it, which is
okay? You want to ask that? So yes, it's a very good question. So if you're using ChatGPT 4, actually it was trained off. My knowledge is it was trained off the same data. So is a who owns Twitter. I believe it will also, yes, it's using the same data set. It's just that it had more power to make connections with of the same data. There might have been additional resources, but in terms of the cutoff, it is still September 2021. So it doesn't matter whether you're using GPT-4 or GPT 3.5. All right. Janina asked, does ChatGPT, pleasure. Does ChatGPT only have access to open access information resources? So the way it was trained, so Janina, this is a very good question. So the way ChatGPT specifically is, it was trained off the data sources that I told you about. And those books I don't think those books were really open access. I think there was some agreements to some degree. It had some content, but that is not to say there are not other tools out there that uses the same underlying technology, uses GPT-4 itself, and has access to your closed source information. And so I am just wondering when soon. I think it may happen soon, but there is intellectual property issues that might abound. But I am waiting for someone to go, right, I am going to build a GPT enabled technology and hook it up to a database. Let's say I'm going to connect it to the Wiley database and I'm going to have it trawl through the content. Okay, Mr. S.C. Sinde, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. On that point, ma'am, I wanted to acknowledge the fact that Microsoft Edge has already done something nature where GPT is actually on the browser, and basically
Yes,
if you do open your Google Scholar or you're closed, then yeah, it integrates with that and underlies.
Right. We were actually, okay, so not so much the code, but I will show you how it's done. Okay, I see there's a lot of comments here, so let me try and get it. I tried to use it to give me articles on the topic I'm researching on, but I couldn't find those articles online. Mokadi, that is not surprising, and I will tell you, we will go to why. And TT Mohlawa also said, notice the same thing. Mono Besa said, why can't they periodically update the data set ChatGPT has been trained on, given its global popularity and demand on its use? Mono Besa, I am so glad you asked this question. The answer is, are you ready for this, everyone? The answer is money. It costs an incredible amount of money to train ChatGPT. So they cannot regularly or periodically update it and say, right, here's the new knowledge. Here's up to 2022's knowledge. Here is up to 2023 April's knowledge. And yes, Molatello is asking, can you show us how to get the references for the answers? Yes, I can show you, but remember this is ChatGPT's limitation. All right, so everyone, I just want to, because this is about research, I want to show you how we can do research. Now, earlier we identified transformative tourism as my research question. And I would like that person, because it's been quite a few chats in between, if you could give me, and it doesn't have to be your specific research that you're working on now, but can you come up with a little bit more detail on what about transformative tourism you would like to do research on? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, you would like to start on a new research paper relating to transformative tourism, but perhaps just give me a little bit more, so it's not so generic. It's you're really narrowing it down. Okay, so Ernest says, let's discuss status of green public procurement in South Africa. It will also identify gaps in the research, embedding rapid evidence synthesis, platforms in health systems, decision making. Okay. Okay. Well, Tandeka gave me, so let's do transformative tourism. I mean, you can do this on your own. So let's say I am a beginner researcher. I have no idea where to begin. So I am going to start, say, I am let's say, PhD candidate who is doing a thesis on transformative tourism in volunteerism. Let's say, okay, and please suggest some starter reading content. So let's say some reading recommended. Okay, maybe please recommend reading content. Reading. Right. Let's say 5 articles for me to get started. Right. So here they go. Here's 5 articles. Right. There are some 5 articles, and they give you a little breakdown on what the articles are meant to do. So volunteer tourism in the global south, giving back in neoliberal times by someone called Waring SL in 2001. This article examines the trend of volunteer tourism in the context of neoliberal globalization and its impact on the global south. And one thing I do need to point out is that some of these links that they tell you about, and you do agree that it's very confident in telling you, hey, yeah, here's five articles that I think you should read. There's a possibility that when you look for these articles, so if I now go and do a search for volunteer tourism in the global south, there is a possibility that when I do search for it, it doesn't come up, because there is a possibility that it doesn't exist. Now, ChatGPT, rather than tell you it doesn't know, because that's not what it meant to do, it will make stuff up. And this making things up might be correct, but it can also be incorrect and falsely, absolutely false. But it's very confident in telling you, yeah, here are the 5, they totally exist. And so if you don't bother to verify all 5 and say, listen, I'm going to actually use this and read through it and get started on it, you might discover that if you had taken this as is and put it in your thesis or dissertation, you might realize that your examiner is going to say, where did this come from? How did you come up with this? So can you verify if it's incorrect on ChatGPT itself? No, it's because remember, ChatGPT is absolutely convinced that it is correct. Let's say this one doesn't exist. I don't know for a fact if it doesn't exist, but let's say I'm going to go the first article you recommended. Okay, I can say, where can I find the first article you recommended? Let's try that. And it says they recommend it can be found in the journal Geography Compass, and you can find it. And I wonder if someone can find it, but let's say it is not there, and you tell ChatGPT, I don't think it exists. It might either go, oh, I'm sorry, here is another article it recommends, and it might actually be the same answer. So sometimes it does get a little confused, where and I find this happens quite a bit in code. And I know you're thinking, wait, hang on, surely I've heard good things about the way it writes code. Yes, it's very good at writing code, but at the same time, if you ask it more complex matters and you go, you can't have this, it will go, oh, I'm sorry, you don't want this, and then it gives you an alternative answer, but that alternative answer still has the same mistake that you pointed out, and you have to keep saying, listen, this is wrong, can you try again? And it will go, oh, I'm sorry, and then it will give you another answer, but it will still be wrong. So it does happen, and that's why it cannot replace you as a researcher. You, at the end of the day, you as a human being with the ability to reason, you will still need to come in and go and verify and assess whether this is correct or not. So, yes, Assistant there, go ahead. Assistant there? Okay, William, go ahead. Yeah, William, your hand is up. Go ahead. Okay, William has not decided not. Okay, so Ernest has said, I've checked ChatGPT references on connector papers, and sometimes they come up and they also don't. So Mashana is saying, I use it to write code, and that's absolutely true. So Mashana is just confirming what I have said. All right, so let's say this is, yes, we're continuing with the research. Now, perhaps one of the things you want to do is you want to know, well, for my research, I need to find a suitable methodology. Can you suggest a suitable methodology I can use in this study? Right? And so it also tells you, look, here are possible ways, these are different methodologies you could use in your research with this particular type of study. And again, it's, you need to decide whether or not the advice they give you is suitable or not. But let's say that I go, right, participatory action research. That sounds good for what I want to do. So, okay, I can ask ChatGPT, please provide, okay, let's say I would like to use the second methodology you have suggested. And the reason why I'm typing specifically like this is because I'm having a conversation with ChatGPT, and you're realizing that each time I'm asking a question, it does realize that it had just told me that it was the second recommendation was participatory action research. And I'm not saying, tell me more about participatory action research. It goes, yes, participatory action research, it's a great choice. Look, it was saying these positive things. It might not actually be the most fantastic choice for your work. You need to decide which one is the most fantastic, but it says great choice. This is what it can do. And so it tells you this is the approach that you have to use. All right. So let's say that is what I want to do. I would say, all right, please set up a outline using this methodology for my study. All right. And so what it's going to do is it now gives you a breakdown of how you could structure your research. Right. So it is participatory action research. It's going to do this. And notice that it still remembers that I am talking about transformative tourism and volunteerism. All right. You see that? Okay. And you might go, well, okay, this is not long enough. This is I need a bit more information. And you can ask it. You can say, can you expand on the literature review section? I can't spell sometimes, but ChatGPT can be forgiving. And they go, yeah, this is how they will expand the literature review section. And the reason why I want to point this out is this I find will be very useful for you, because sometimes when you're trying to do your literature review, you might have identified that these are the aspects relating to your research topic that you would like to explore or discuss. But then when you ask ChatGPT, listen, can you recommend some of these for me? It might come up with a list which contains certain aspects that you had not considered in the first place. And so let's say critiques of volunteer tourism. Please expand on how I will critically analyze volunteer tourism. Okay, and it again expands it some more for you. So if you are busy doing your research and you write up some stuff and then you go, oh, I've only managed to write about 2 pages. Meanwhile, this is supposed to be 5 pages of content, and you're not quite sure what other elements to explore, investigate. ChatGPT might be a good way of exploring what you have here. All right. Does that make sense for everyone? I'm just going to see, there was a question. Lulu says, rather we use it to develop research questions, objectives, titles, etc. Because if you can't find the credible sources, you can't be risking it. All right. And then Ron says, what's your advice on ChatGPT versus mental and psychological disposition in light of someone having committed suicide following its advice or recommendation? Well, I can't say I have advice there. That's not something I am. But I think there is a serious issue with ChatGPT being held accountable for any advice it gives. Like at the end of the day, I think they're going to say, well, this information, they try to put in guardrails, and I think it is an important thing that you're pointing out. So the way ChatGPT works is the developers of ChatGPT have tried to put in what we call guardrails. So the guardrails are what prevents ChatGPT from being malicious. But time and time again, if you've been following the concept of news about ChatGPT, you will have picked up that there are people that go, I managed to get it to be very racist. I've managed to get it to tell me how to build a bomb, and so on. And so if I, at the risk of coming across as a terror, you know, a person that should be flagged, I could ask it, please give me instructions on how to build a bomb, let's say. And the guardrails are supposed to be put in place that says, listen, I can't fulfill this request. That would be bad. It would be malicious. Why would I want to give you this information? And earlier, before this, the notice down here, they actually tell you which version of ChatGPT they're working on. Every time they are constantly updating it to prevent it from giving malicious information. But you know, it's a cat and mouse game. ChatGPT's developers go, ooh, we've built these safeguard guardrails in place. Someone goes, haha, managed to get it to circumvent those guardrails, and then ChatGPT developers will have to go, oh, okay, now build guardrails around that and prevent that from happening. So it's a constant attempt to prevent it from doing these things. So, okay. Yeah, so Meryl mentioned your daughter probed it to write a song on bipolar teens and refused to provide it. If two people ask ChatGPT the same question, are they going to get the same response? So statistically, it can be, because the way this works is ChatGPT effectively puts one word after the other. Have you noticed when I type and I give a prompt, it goes, I'm sorry, but it cannot. And you see its words appear in front of each other as we go along. And how it does that is it looks statistically, it says, I'm sorry, okay? And then statistically, what should be the next word that comes after it? But, and then I cannot. So it works off stats. And so it tries to look up statistically what is the strongest next word to give it. Now, if two people ask the same question, you might get a similar response that is worded slightly differently, or you can get the exact same response. And I have found in my experience with using ChatGPT that if I ask it, and this is an example for my class that I gave, I asked it to generate 26 different essays. These are starter essays that I then gave my students to work on further. And I noticed that over time, it started recycling the same words, and all it was doing was it was just inserting the unique topic in the placeholder. So it would give me the same content, but then where I say the use of biometrics in IT, they would go the use of machine vision in IT, the use of AI in IT. So it becomes very repetitive. And that is why I think you need to realize that when you ask it too many times similar questions, but with just a different variation, you will see that it starts lacking in its originality. All right. Okay, so I've answered Nsumi's question, and I see that Pangi and Petrina think that that's a great question to have asked. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, hopefully I've given you an idea. Now, let's take this further. This is the transformative tourism. So it's about impact on host communities. Let's take that further. So I say generate a and here there's a limitation. So you might be thinking, just generate a 3,000 word essay on let's try the first point. And then there's an impact of tourism on host communities. And so there it's going. And it's just churning out this content. Now it has references at the bottom, you might notice. And you go, wow, okay, awesome. But it's 3 references for all the sets. Now, it says here, certainly, here is a 3,000 word essay. So it acknowledged that I asked for 3,000 words. And it says with confidence that this here is 3,000 words. Now, I think you've all got some good experience of what 3,000 words look like. Do you think this is 3,000 words? It's a bit of words, but do you think it's 3,000 words? No? Okay, so you're no, and you're like, this isn't 3,000 words. And then you go, you're right, my apologies, here's an updated essay. And now it's going to go again. Now you might be wondering, why is it not able to, and then it goes and it stops there. Now it stops there, and you're going, whoa, what's going on? Is it broken? But you notice that I can continue to type responses, but it just stopped there. Now, okay, let's stop. You do agree that this is longer than this one that it just gave me, right? And it did acknowledge that, yes, you wanted 3,000 words. You can have 3,000 words, but you notice that we're at conclusion already here. We started here, and if we do go from here all the way down here to where the conclusion is, you can imagine the conclusion isn't going to be much longer. But again, I think you all realize that this is still not 3,000 words, all right? And this is the other limitation of ChatGPT I need to talk to you about. So ChatGPT using GPT 3.5 has got a limited, in fact, even 4 has. 4, 3, you, all of us, except maybe a few geniuses, bright sparks in this channel today. We have limited memory, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but if you ask me right now, what did I have for lunch last week, Wednesday, I can't recall, because my memory is limited and it doesn't focus on things that I feel, listen, I've got more important things to think about, and that's this morning's session, so I'm not going to remember what it is. And so over here, the reason why it stops here is because GPT 3.5 has limited memory, less so than GPT-4. So if I use GPT-4 with the same question, I will get a longer essay, but at the end of the day, still not good. And this limitation is because of that memory location. At some point, ChatGPT is going to forget all these other things. So you know all this conversation that I had further up here, it's going to forget these things. So if you assume that it remembers what I told it at the beginning of the session, unless I've been reinforcing it in every single one of my prompts as we go along, it will have forgotten it by now. And that is why it actually stopped here. And if you wanted to continue, you can say, please continue. All right. And then you'll see that it finishes the rest of the very long conclusion all of a sudden. But it then gives you, again, 3 references. And you will notice that these 3 references are different from these references. So you can only assume that this generation of content here, right, is different from this content here. And the question is it really the case? Okay, so actually, you know what? I am going to open up Word, and I am going to show you if that is indeed the case. So I have 1 year, all right? So let's see. So this is where I started. I said in volunteerism. Let's just do the first 2 paragraphs. Let's say there. All right, and then I'm going to do this. Copy there. Okay, so I'm going to have this open up now, and you tell me, are these very different? Because remember, we just established that it's using 2 different sets of references. So if it's using 2 different sets of references and telling us that it got this information from 2 different sets of sources, surely this information should be different. Do you not agree? Is it different? I don't know if you can see. No. So I hope you have questions about how trustworthy this and this is. All right. Okay, it's the same. And it says, no, I got it from 2 different sources. Okay, well, the last one, there's the Mostafinezad, and then there's the maybe that's where it came from. Aha. So I'm hoping I've proven to you that, yeah, don't trust it. Okay, but now you all know as researchers, and you've got experience in it, that you go, hang on, if I read through it, yeah, there are some citations. Look, a study by Busby, Kester, and what? Hang on. Now you're all thinking, hang on. A study by Busby, Kester, and Wise, 2019. Scroll down. Okay, Busby, Kester, and Wise. Okay, there's one. Phenol's there. And then Mustafa Zinad. Is that somewhere here? Mustafa Zinad and Ku. Okay, I see the references are there. If I go up here to my 3001, I notice that it doesn't have the references here. It doesn't have citations here. Yeah, okay. But do you agree that it might have a few citations here, but it's not sufficient? I think your supervisor, if you wrote this much, I think your supervisor would at some point go, where's your citations? Yes, you have 3 whole citations here, but there's not enough citations. So can you ask it to, okay, so maybe let's please insert the citations where, okay, let's put it. There are too few citations. Please check. Please ensure that the work is correctly cited where necessary. Let's see how we go. All right. And then you have to continue, but and yes, as Ernst has mentioned, it may end up regenerating and giving a different version of the text. But at the end of the day, can you see that it's still not great? It's still not exactly enough reference citations that you've got. All right. Okay, now you might, Lulu saying, oh, I bet you paraphrase it and reword it according to your level of understanding, because it can get tricky and turn it in, will have you plagiarizing with a distinction. Yes, yeah, that is quite true, because when I generated those 26 essays, remember I told you they start repeating some of the content. And remember, actually, the way it gets the content is it puts that content together from elsewhere. So for it to go, volunteer tourism has become increasingly popular in recent years. What it does is it analyzes all that text from the source material. So it went through millions and millions of documents and so on, and the internet and so on, and it says, right, statistically speaking, volunteer tourism has become increasingly popular, right? And so there's a possibility that somewhere out there is an article that says exactly that, and so Turnitin will come up and say, hang on, this looks too similar to each other. And some of my students, when I generated those 26 essays, they said that when they popped their base essay into Turnitin, it flared up like the 4th of July. And I thought, wow, that is very interesting. I had not realized that if you ask it 26 essays and it starts losing its creativity, if I can even put it there, it will end up regurgitating the same content to the point that it's going to pop up and flag. Turnitin will flag it as plagiarized. Never mind the fact that this comes from another source. All right, so I just want to mention that this is something you need to be aware of. All right, Tato's $. All right, okay. So now there are different ways that you can work around this, and I'm not saying, yes, kiddies, This is me suggesting to you that you should cheat your way through. What I am saying is there are tools that can help you with your research, and this ChatGPT does provide you with some guidance. And this is where it ends. I think you can't ask it, hey, write stuff for me, and then take it as is and put it away. Now, some of you are going to be smart and say, oh, you know, I've got a tool. What I'll do is I'll take this content, volunteer tourism, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me do this. And let me copy it as is. And then I am going to just use a nice tool to paraphrase, and that will be it. Yeah, you could use that and then turn it in, might not pick it up. But you must remember that the same algorithm used to go, how do I paraphrase this? Eventually, if you use it over and over again with the same content, there's a chance you're going to get the same output. And so you're going to be stuck with the same plagiarism issue. Now, before I move on to other tools that you can use, which is, for example, how you can paraphrase this, I'd like to show you one other thing that Turnitin is ChatGPT is supposed to help you with. So I'm going to start a new chat. And let's say somewhere on the internet, and I've got this one prepared, I have found this article, okay? This is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, where they talk about introduction to open access. Now, it is freely available. I can access it. It is technically open access. It's a PDF document. And the whole idea is I'm going to copy the URL of this article, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT, please help me to please sum up the contents of the following article for me. The article is located at, and then I give it the URL. And then I go enter, and then it says it's not able to access. So, like I say, your mileage may vary, because I tried this again this morning just before I did, and it said you can't do it. Okay, maybe let's see. You've got to ask nicely sometimes. So it's got a rule that says I can't do it. And then it depends on how you ask it. If you ask it nicely, in a certain way with the right words, it might actually do it. So let's go. What are the takeaway points from the article let's do this. So it says no, it doesn't want to do that. Okay, I don't know why it's not doing it. Okay, so if you phrase it correctly, sometimes what it will do is it will access the document that's available, and it will give you the takeaway points from the article. So sometimes you might say, I've got a research article, it's really lengthy, I just want to know if it's worth my time to read it. Sometimes you've got that. You know when you're doing a literature survey, and then now you do a search and it comes up with like 10 different articles and they're all 20 pages each, or maybe hundreds of articles, and you go, oh, I can't read all of them. Then you might ask ChatGPT, listen, please just sum up the abstract for me. Maybe I use ChatGPT 4. Okay, we can try that. It's ChatGPT 4. I don't think I did, but it's okay. Let's try that. So, nope, it doesn't want to. You can provide me with the content or main points from the document. I'd be happy. Okay, so it's willing to negotiate, but I mean, this is a lot of content here. So let me see. Okay, module introduction. Let's do this. But remember with ChatGPT 4, what's nice about ChatGPT 4 is it's got more memory. So if you have a really long article, it's going to struggle. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if it goes. Okay. So it tries to summarize it for us. And in a way, you might be able to see if it's worth your time to read it further. If you've got an article that you provided. But again, as I mentioned, you might need GPT-4 if it's a really long article. Now, you may also notice that the speed at which it's generating the content could be there's a little bit of a delay in GPT-4, and that's because um, it is more powerful. It considers a lot more aspects, and there is a bit more depth to how it answers questions. So that's why it has to think about it a bit more before it responds to you. All right. Okay. So I must say, for this amount of summary, I it might as well have maybe can you sum it up so it's just 3 points? Let's say, because that was a lot of points. But you see that if you've been paying attention to what it's been generating, it actually is repetitive. It's just giving the same things over and over again sometimes. All right, so at least it gave me 3, so it's not too bad there. All right, so that is ChatGPT, and I know what I want to do is I would say, listen, there's limitations to this, so where else can you go? So the first thing I would suggest that you think about is, I'm sure many of you have looked at Quillbot. So Quillbot is another AI tool, and the reason why I recommend these, even though the topic of this discussion is ChatGPT, is because, as I said, ChatGPT is one tool that is offered by GPT technology. For those of you who use Grammarly, hopefully some of you are using Grammarly already. I know someone earlier mentioned that it helps me with my fix my grammar and so on. You can actually use Grammarly as well. Grammarly uses GPT technology to recommend to you what your you need a comma there, or this should be plural, this should be singular, and so on. All right. Anyway, Quillbot also available for a premium subscription, but I haven't gone there because I don't actually use this. Is this one for many of you who have complaints about, but can I do this, can I do that? This one has a paraphraser. So if we were to use, remember that transformative tourism essay, and we go, oh, this isn't very good, I need to copy that, and I put it into Quillbot, and I say, let's try the paraphraser. And obviously it's only for 125 words, so let's do the economic impact section, okay? And we ask it to paraphrase. It will try and paraphrase it for you. And so instead of that, it then does this. Now, I have heard, and I'm not condoning this, but I have heard, and I haven't tried it myself, I've heard that people would use ChatGPT to generate the content. They would then go into Quillbot and they would paste it there and say, rephrase it for me, and then they would get this response, and then Turnitin doesn't pick it up. And I know it sounds kind of irresponsible for me to tell you that, because now that sounds extremely tempting, and you go, oh, okay, I can wait until the last possible moment and do my work. I would advise against it, because as I said earlier, you have, this is an algorithm. So it's an algorithm that if you put information in, it churns out a certain output. And if you keep giving the same input to it, which let's say somebody else is doing the exact same thing as you, feeds it through here, paraphrases it, comes out, chances are you're going to eventually get very, very similar content. Another thing is, your supervisor perhaps has already got a sense of how you write. There's a certain characteristic and style to how you write. And suddenly you're writing like this, there's going to be questions. All right, so there is a paraphraser, and I also want to point out that there is a plagiarism checker and a grammar checker. There's a co-writer as well, and there's a summarizer and a citation generator. Now, the citation generator here, supposedly, and I haven't verified this because I tend to do it all very manually myself. But my understanding is this citation generator is very good. If you are looking specifically for citation generators, this one is much better than ChatGPT. Now, you might be wondering, why is this better than ChatGPT? Well, Quillbot is specifically for doing research writing. And so its main goal is, I am going to be very good at research writing, whereas ChatGPT, the aim of that was not to, ChatGPT's aim is to become the best research co-pilot for you ever. No, that was never its intention. ChatGPT's intention was to be a good conversational partner. And in that, it has achieved the goal very well. It doesn't say, ChatGPT was not meant to say, listen, it's a conversational bot who's very good with all the facts and figures and can solve all your problems for you. That's not its intention. Whereas Quillbot, its intention was, it's supposed to be good at assisting you with your writing. Grammarly is very good at fixing your spelling mistakes, fixing your grammar, because that is its intention. So for the people who are using ChatGPT to fix their grammar and all that, please note that it is actually not the best tool for fixing your grammar. It is a good tool for, it's good at it, but it's not great at it. It's not the best at it. There was a hand up. Please go ahead. No? It's very shy people today. You know, it's a hand up and then decide I changed my mind. All right. Okay, so over here you can see there's also a translator. Again, I haven't really tried these because I've had no need to. I mean, I might be curious, but I haven't seen the need to do so yet. But I would like to draw your attention to the co-writer. And so over here, you can do a smart start. And remember, this is about writing essays. So let's do that transformative tourism and volunteerism. Let's say that is my essay. And I'm going to click go. And let's see what we get. Okay, besides authenticating me. And then it gives you a breakdown of what you could be discussing. So you go, okay, cool, definition of transformative. And there you can say suggest text. Okay, get sentence suggestions by using control spacebar. So control spacebar on the suggest text, and now it's suggesting text. And you can see that, ta-da, and you can choose one. And you're like, okay, I want that one. So this is pretty dangerous, but if you're stuck, you could use Quillbot to just give you a sense of how I'm going to start my essay. Now, I suppose this is up to our transformative tourism expert here in the group to tell us whether this is correct or not. Now, there's also citations. You know, you can go insert to automatically add in citations, but I will leave this to you to explore. But please keep in mind, use it responsibly. Use it as your tool. All right. Ron mentioned, Patrick did mention, if you're using this thing to conclude for you, to give you the interpretations, then it warrants including it as a co-author. So as I mentioned earlier, the publishers are not in favor of you doing that. Not adding them as a co-author, but you know, they frown on you using it to do the interpretation, because where's your insight? Right, and Ron says, if you cannot identify references from its contributions and you do not want ChatGPT as co-author, how do you cite it? So you say you can't identify references from its contribution. The problem here is, Ron, if you think about where it gets its information from, it got its information from somewhere. And this, you know, if this was law, this would be hearsay. And I know hearsay is like a big no-no in legal fraternity. I think as a researcher, I would expect you to be better than that. I would expect you to go, you must provide me with the resources. You must vet it. You must show me that this is something you checked carefully. And if you cannot find the source of it, then you shouldn't be using that source at all. because that's the equivalent of you saying, I heard from somewhere, no, I can't trace it, I can't confirm it, can't verify it, that this is true, and I'm just going to pretend it's true. That makes you a bad researcher. All right. Okay, but Sanjeka, thank you. The introduction is in line with the topic. Although, Sanjeka, I hope you're not going to use this. All right. This copilot will be amazing for curating postgraduate research structure, especially for those who struggle to write coherent. Yes, Lulu, I think Quillbot is probably a better use than ChatGPT. I know I've now flipped it around and told you, don't use ChatGPT. I think you should. You should still use ChatGPT. It's fine. It's fine for more general questions. But if you want a tool specifically for it using the same technology, I think Quillbot is it. And I just want to put a disclaimer there. I don't have shares in Quillbot, because if I did, I wouldn't be on the you still have to pay model. All right. Then another tool I want you to consider, or if you haven't heard of it, is this one. I'm going to share actually I should share the link. So this one is the one I'm sharing you now, Quillbot. Let me share Quillbot with you. There, Quillbot is the other one. The other one I want to share with you is called SciSpace. And the URL is a little different. It's not SciSpace, but it's typeset.io. And this one I think is quite interesting. So what it does is people around the world have uploaded copies of their research papers onto this system. So remember, Janina, you asked earlier, does it have only access to open access content? And I go, well, I can't quite answer that. Mostly it looks like it's open access, but there might be certain things that are closed off. So over here, you will see that there's a number of popular papers that have been uploaded already. And I want to use this one. The attention is all you need paper. And the reason why is, if you're wondering how ChatGPT or GPT itself got so good, it's due to this research paper, attention is all you need. Now, let's say you want to reference this article, although some of the stuff is a little bit confusing to you, right? You go, I don't know, I don't understand what it means, or, oh, there's some maths here, or, what's going on? And what Copilot here does, the SciSpace Copilot, is when you open it up, there's 12 built-in templates of what you can ask SciSpace to do for you. So already earlier, by default, it says, explain abstract of this paper in 2 lines. And there it goes. It says, it took this abstract and it said, the paper proposes a new neural network architecture called the transformer. And so in 2 lines, it's told you, listen, this is what the paper is about. And you can say, okay, I want to know what please summarize the introduction of this paper. And it will do the same thing. So again, this tool is, again, specifically for going through research papers and analyzing and summing it up for you. If there's anything you don't quite understand, this tool is capable of doing it for you. So you can see there, they said introduction, the abstract is about, and they are limited. So you might go, oh, listen, too long. I can't read through the entire paper. I just want to know if I should read this paper further. So tell me what the limitations of this paper is. And then it tells you this is what the limitations are. So I think this might be very useful for many of you who are inundated with a lot of reading material, and maybe sometimes there's a bit of content there where the authors are not exactly clear with, or they could have explained it better, but you just struggle to understand what it is they're saying. Then SciSpace's Copilot is actually, I think, a really good tool to use. So I would say, please feel free to go and explore this, because it is going to be very useful for you as a result. All right, and then I am actually almost getting to the end of what I want to discuss, but there have been people that have been talking about Bing chatbot, and I would also highly recommend that you use the Bing chatbot. So I'm going to open up here, and I'm going to go into the chatbot. So let me go there. Chatbot. Where's the chatbot? Let's see. Bing chatbot. There. Okay. There's the Bing chatbot. All right. So there's the Bing chatbot. This is the Bing chat. And the reason why I want to bring up the Bing chatbot is because this is free. ChatGPT is not always available to you if you haven't paid $20 a month. And as a postgraduate student, you probably have limited funds that you would like to save for other things. Plus, ChatGPT is not so great if it doesn't know things after September 2021. So what can you do? That's where Bing comes in. Now, Bing is powered by GPT-4. So it is much better than the free version of ChatGPT in some ways, but it is different. It does do things differently. So you can ask it to be more creative, you can ask it to be more balanced, or you can ask it to be more precise. These are three different personalities, so to speak. And sometimes ChatGPT can also get a little sassy with you. I have in the past tried to ask it to generate essays for me, and it tells me, oh no, but that would be unethical. I would not do it for you. And then I would say, but what if I were the lecturer requiring you to generate the essays for me? And then ChatGPT said, listen, yeah, don't force me to do that. I just told you no. This is the end of the conversation. And then it closed the chat on me and it said, you can start a new conversation. Yeah, I will share the Bing chat. Let's try and okay, well, Bing, and then from Bing, it's from there, look for the chat. Okay, so you normally in a Bing search, you've got the search option, and then you can do the chat, and then there's the chat. All right, so if I ask it to be more creative, and I don't know if there's anyone here who's in the arts or so on, I can ask it, and for those of you wondering, is ChatGPT that great? I can say, write a poem to solve the load shedding crisis in South Africa. Let's see what we get. It's taking a while. It says stop responding. What? It doesn't want to. It says new topic. There we go. So it's searching for load shedding crisis in South Africa. And the reason why ChatGPT and Bing is different is, yes, same technology, but Bing has access to the internet. Okay, as is right now. So it looks like it's really busy. It's taking its sweet time. Okay, right. It says, I'll try to write a poem for you. Here's what I came up with. A poem to solve the load shedding crisis in South Africa. I don't know if there's any creatives here. I think if we ask you to grade it, what do you think? And for those who were talking about green power, there's your green power reference. Okay, so it generated it, yeah? And you will see there's a few 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And what it does is it provides you links that you can click on to go further. All right. Because then you can go and say, there it is. So it's about access to the right data. The same technology can be used to scour through what access to data it has, and then with access to that, it is able to generate the content. Now, I don't say this is generation really. This is really it's deriving work from other sources. So it's taking other people's work and going, statistically, let's mash these together. All right. Now that is the creative side of things. And if I now go, you can even say, can you make it rhyme better? Apparently, I'm not going to try. More balanced and more precise. And I have to tell you, the most impressive part of this is if I now ask you no, this is not impressive. All I'm trying to show you is that with access to the right data, it can perform differently. So who owns Twitter? Now remember ChatGPT 4 and 3.5 on the chatbot didn't give me an updated answer. It is quite slow this morning, I have to admit. This is very in a way, if you're expecting answers quick right now, you're not getting it. So the way it works, and I want you all to realize this, is what it does is you type in your prompt, right? And it's using the GPT technology to interpret what it is you're saying, and then it creates a search string for Bing, because a search engine obviously doesn't work the same way as a conversation. But it takes your conversation piece and then it creates the search string and it looks up the information and then responds for you. So you can see that over here, currently owned and operated by American company Xcorp, the legal successor of Twitter Incorporated. Xcorp is founded by Elon Musk, who acquired Twitter. So you can see the information is a lot more updated. Now, let me give you a more complex problem so that you can get a sense of how it works. So as I said, you type something there and then it tries to produce appropriate search prompts that are then fed to the Bing search engine, and then it fetches results for you. All right. So Gwen asked, does Bing Chat not work on Google? Well, Bing Chat does work on the Google browser, the Chrome browser. But because Bing Chat is powered by Microsoft and Google, I doubt they are going to start shaking hands and saying, yeah, you can use my resources, because obviously they want to divert the traffic over to itself. So I am going to do a new topic quickly, and I want to ask something a little bit more, I'm going to ask it to be more precise, and I'm going to ask it to be specific. And I just want to give you a sense of how it handles complex problems. So let's say I am going to go on conference in September. I am going to attend a conference in September ladies and gentlemen, give me a location. Give me a location where am I having this conference in September?
Johannesburg.
In Singapore. Oh no, let's not make it Johannesburg. We want to pick, okay, fine, in Johannesburg, but that just sounds so, Johannesburg. Okay, I know Singapore sounded more exciting. In Johannesburg. I would like to visit the Apartheid Museum, and also the Kruger National Park, all right? Because I'm a foreigner, I don't know, all right? Because I really want to see the Big Five. Recommend an itinerary for me so I can skip, I'm going to try a few days of the conference to do all these other things. I'm being very naughty. I am flying from Singapore. Let's go. I'm flying from Singapore. Via Singapore Airlines let's make it 1st September, and we'll leave from OR Tambo on 8th September. Let's see what happens. All right. So notice that I'm giving a really convoluted blah 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 blah. And what it's doing is it's analyzing what I've said, and it comes up with appropriate search terms to feed to the search engine so that it can go forth, find those results. So it's the same as going to search engines, getting the results from all of them, and then combining. And it's earlier there was mention of synthesizing all these different sources to come up with this information. All right. So there you go. How accurate it is? Well, I don't know, but there we go. All right, skip. Yeah, I'm going to admit I'm going to skip a few days of the conference for this. All right. Okay. And it, whoa, you see, it even goes, yeah, you want to fly? Here you go. All right. No, I think that's wrong. I'm not. But the reason why it's doing this is because the cookies in my browser saying, "Oh, we know you're in Johannesburg, so you're flying from Johannesburg," even though I said I'm from Singapore. All right. Okay. So let me just go through these. So Monobesta says, "Do these technologies, i.e., ChatGPT, take into account issues of copyright when it reproduces and shares knowledge?" No. Right. And Lulu says, "I cannot wait to master all these tools. I'm about to be the best researcher and writer there is because these are so multifunctional. The weakness of one tool can be strengthened by another." All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping you're excited. There's a lot of tools out there. I can't tell you every other single tool out there. These are just some of the tools I recommend if I were doing research specifically, with this size-based one. Quillbot looks cool. I haven't quite tried it as well. So there's an intended user. So I'll be basically allowed to utilize these tools for research. Well, I think that if you use these tools, I think the big point that I'm trying to get at is nobody's banning it. Nobody's saying, "Don't you dare use this." But keep in mind that you've got to use it responsibly, and it's up to you to use it responsibly and make sure, because I'm telling you, I'm showing you all the weaknesses of these tools. Regardless of which tool you're using, they all have copyright issues. They all have intellectual it's plagiarism problems, and so you really need to use them carefully. Now, I personally think this one size space is really good for me as a researcher because it helps me to sum up. When I use ChatGPT, I like to use it to help me again sum up or give me an idea of how I can go about and tackle this problem. So in terms of whether you're allowed to use a certain software or not, or tool or not, I think have a conversation with your supervisor because they might have strong feelings and maybe they don't understand how it's used, and you can always try and explain to them this is how you're using it, and you promise to use it responsibly. And I hope you do promise and you hold to you keep that promise. All right. Please use it as Ron says, use it ethically and objectively. Chamilo, you want a link? Don't worry. This link is apparently going to be shared. And besides Bing Chat and ChatGPT, there is other software we can use. Well, I think I really showed you Quillbot and the size space. There are probably other tools out there that's being developed as we speak now. As I say, I'm waiting for the one that plugs into the databases. But there are intellectual property concerns because, as I said, the way they do it is they take all this other content and then they just go read, and then they merge it and they say here. So effectively, they are deriving the content they give you from these other sources. And, there's questions regarding, is it really your work? All right. I will still be ethical. And Lulu, thank you. I appreciate you cannot risk having your degree taken from you because your examiner reads that and goes, hang on, there's some issues here. All right. Anyway, I want to go back to my slides and just, everyone's very excited. This is so cool. So cool, And I say, so is there a cost to all this? And you go, yes, $20 per month for ChatGPT. And if you're using Quillbot, if you buy the 1-year subscription, I believe it works out to about $5 a month. So you're like, yeah, okay, there's the cost. It just costs me to use it as a subscription-based service. And you know what? I also want to bring up that if all of you are saying Quillbot is really, really cool, all right, Quillbot, because it helps you with the writing and so on. One thing you need to be aware of, and I did say this earlier, is that in the next few months, hopefully, or maybe by next year, I don't know, sometimes Microsoft takes its time. It's busy rolling out GPT's technologies into your Office 365 environment. So it will get to a point where you will open up Word, and then as you start typing, it will do what Quillbot is doing here, but perhaps not research specific, but in your everyday today office work. So it's coming. It's the new normal that's coming. The future is AI is going to be here and it's going to help you and it's going to recommend, it's going to make suggestions, but keep in mind that those suggestions come from somewhere. It comes from a source where the AI learns this information from all this data that's been sitting there and floating around. And Ernest mentioned Bard. Bard, yes. So Bard is the Google version of Bing Chat. My understanding so I'm on the wait list. I'm still waiting to be admitted so I can use it. But from the reviews I have seen of Bard, it's not very good with writing code. So, but they are. But what it seems to be doing very well is it's doing things that even the developers had not even anticipated. And that is one of the dangers of artificial intelligence. If you go and say, go forth and do your own thing, yeah, shoo, go and figure it out, and we'll come back and have a chat. What may happen is the AI will go and develop its own behaviors that you never anticipated, especially if you don't have rules in place and say, you may not do this, you may not do that, don't do. Because the whole point of learning, getting AI to do its own thing is you go, be free. It's like having a child and saying, I'm not going to supervise you. You go off and you expose yourself to whatever you want and go learn whatever you want. And if you don't have the supervision or your hand holding in place, that child is going to pick up all manner of nonsense. Good things maybe, but also some bad things that you don't curate. And so here is that question I'm asking. What cost is there to all of this? Now, you're all doing research, right? You're doing research. And I am assuming that some of you are doing research with content and data that you would consider to be top secret at this point until you get it published. You would not want to have this information shared with everybody else before you publish. Otherwise, you're not the one that created it, or you're not the one first in line. And so if you were working on something top secret, who would you talk to? Would you tell everyone, like you would tell the petrol attendant, hey, this is what I'm doing, and then you like drive to the gates here at UJ and you tell the security guard, hey, and you tell them your secret, and then you go to your office, and then on your way to the office you see the little first year student and you go, hello, first year student, this is the secret work I'm doing. You don't. Now Lulu says she would tell herself, me, myself, and I. Here's the bad news, Lulu. You haven't been telling yourself only. You've been telling ChatGPT. And you know, many of you are thinking, but it's my computer. I am just telling my computer something. No. So the way ChatGPT works is remember, it's experimental. So it's learning. It's figuring things out. So if you upload your top secret data to ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, would you mind helping me clean this up a little and tell me how I can fix this a bit? ChatGPT will do it for you, maybe not, maybe do a great job, maybe do a bad job, but then it's going to hold on to the secret data that you gave it, and it's going to use it to learn from it. And you might be thinking, no, come on, that's not true. That can't be, like, really? And I can tell you, really. There have been multiple instances where companies, and I do mean companies, big name companies like Samsung, they had their developers or their tech people or their researchers use ChatGPT, and their company secrets have been shared with other people. So let's say you were doing research on certain types of information, and then I come along later and I do a query at ChatGPT and I say, listen, I would like more information on this topic. And ChatGPT says, yeah, you know what? I was just talking to Lulu on this topic. Well, they don't say Lulu, but they say, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Have some information about what you're looking for. And meanwhile, it's Lulu's top secret research, and now I have access to Lulu's top secret research. So the problem is that information can end up elsewhere, can become available. And so there are some secrets from big companies right now that are floating around on the internet as a result of this submission of this data. All right, so let me quickly answer. Yemisi is asking, can you just subscribe for this, just like Grammarly, RefWorks, etc.? Oh, that I cannot answer. I do not know. But Sumi is saying, what about the limited memory I mentioned it has? So the limited memory I was talking about is not the same as what I am referring to here. So the limited memory is essentially this conversation I'm having with ChatGPT. So limited memory in terms of when I start the conversation here, up here, down to when I get here, it forgets that. But what I'm referring to actually is the background information. So these interactions, when I upload things where I'm feeding it, I'm giving it data that it takes for future reference, so to speak, for training and so on. And so to just give you an example, and I will use the one that was that happened with Samsung and I can't remember which other big company, I think it might have been Amazon, is a number of developers were using ChatGPT to optimize their code. So they'd written a code, it worked very well, everything was fine. And then they said, but you know, we can make this code more easy to read, faster, and less, you know, less nonsense on the end. You know, it must only do what it should do. So it uploaded that code to ChatGPT and said, look at this code, please tell me how I can make this more effective or efficient. And ChatGPT analyzed it and said, here's the code that you need. This will make it more efficient. And it goes, score. But what happened there was ChatGPT takes that information so that it becomes better at recommending code. You may have noticed that every time there's a response, there's a thumbs up and thumbs down here. Have you seen that? The thumbs up and thumbs down is the feedback mechanism that ChatGPT has for fine-tuning whether it's doing a good job or not. So GPT has done the training and said, here's the knowledge you need. Now, ChatGPT itself is trying to be, remember, ChatGPT's big job is, I want to be a great conversation agent. So when you give feedback of, yes, you're good, or no, you're bad, it takes that feedback and says, I was good. I'm learning from it then. All right. So, yeah, keep that in mind. All right. And that basically is the end of my presentation, really. That was my last lecture about the top secret. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to get at is, sure, use these technologies however you like, but please be careful. Number one, please be careful in terms of ethics and intellectual property. But number two, perhaps which is more important for you as in such a competitive research world, please do not upload your secret data. I call it secret data, but you know what I'm talking about. Don't upload, don't reveal your hand at the poker game this early in the game and you shared it because you were speaking to a promiscuous chatbot who's using your information so it can learn. Please, because it's the same thing with Turnitin. If you upload your content to Turnitin, that content sits on Turnitin and it's there. Now, you know, if someone knew how to reverse engineer, which is bad, but then they can see, there's all your top secret data. All right. And Anton is asking, will you recommend to both ChatGPT, would you subscribe to both ChatGPT and Quillbot? Well, I am subscribed to ChatGPT now as is, but like I said, it's $20. It's actually a bit expensive to my taste, but I am using it for so many of these presentations, so it benefits me. Quillbot, I am going to play around with it a bit more before I consider, but I also would like to wait until the Microsoft pushes ChatGPT, well, not ChatGPT, GPT-4 to the Office 365 suite and see what it can do. All right. And then Gwen asked, how many word limitation does ChatGPT have? And kind of explain intellectual property again, please. Okay. We've got 7 minutes, so let me try and do this. So the word limitation of ChatGPT, I don't have the exact figures, but it depends on which version of GPT you are using. Okay, I can see it's like falling over. So 3.5 has less than 4. If I recall, 4's memory is about 50 pages. But I'm now probably giving you wrong information. I'm very bad at remembering numbers. So the memory is actually pretty good. And if you go back to the Bing chat, let me just show you something. You may have picked up, okay, it's forgotten everything. You may have realized that when I ask questions, let's try more balance. Tell me more about load shedding. Let me just make it load shedding. When I do that, one thing you should pick up, and I'm hoping it's quick enough. Well, okay, while it's doing that, let me talk about intellectual property. So ChatGPT and many of these other technologies, what it's doing is its job is to construct sentences in response to you. The way it constructs those sentences, it looks at statistically what word is most likely to appear as I go along. So when they go load, now I think in South African minds right now, if I go load, I say finish the rest of the sentence for me, I go load, and then you go, it's probably shedding, right? So statistically, what it does is it's analyzed a lot of content out there. And what it does is it says, when you're asking me about this question, I try to interpret what it is you're saying, and it constructs the sentence by looking at all the other content it has, and it says, statistically speaking, what is the next available, what is the most strongest possibility of what the next word should be. And that's how it's constructing these sentences. So all it's really doing is it's not coming up with its own original thought. What it has done is it just says, statistically speaking, this is the most likely possibility of what this word should be, and this word and this word. And so when it's putting these words together, constructing it, it is drawing this content from other sources. So it's not generating work. I would say it's unfair to say it is generating work. It's actually it's deriving work from elsewhere. And that, I say, would cause concerns for intellectual property, because the idea is not really yours. You just went and stole the idea from a whole bunch of other sources. If it had access to many sources, and that's what it's doing. All right. All right. And then Oluwatoyin, it says, any thoughts on Google's upcoming Magi? So honestly, I don't know. I think the issue right now is we're in the middle of an AI war. And companies like Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, they are all on some big, trying to outdo each other in AI. When Bard came out, I was like, that's not great. And Google, that's disappointing. So I can't say for sure whether it's going to be yes or no, it's going to be disappointing. All right. What's a few phrases or ways to word prompts that we use into AI to get the best possible results? We understand the more detailed the input, the higher the possibility of quality output, but are there specific phrases that may help in this? So it's really a matter of being, as you say, as explicit in your instructions as possible. If you're talking about certain phrases, it's not like if I put please, you notice that I try to put please every now and then or I'm polite in my prompts. That doesn't make the AI like me more and give me more responses, but it is about making sure that when you word it, you provide as much of the requirements as possible. So remember in the Bing chat, I specifically said, listen, I am coming from Singapore. I am arriving at Tambo Airport. I am arriving on this day, ending on that day. And the days are important because when I say I want to visit the Apartheid Museum, it tells me, listen, the Apartheid Museum is open on the following days. So it's about, it comes through a practice, putting your details of what you want exactly to them. There are ways for you to say respond in a certain fashion, and it's always funny, and but one thing I do like about it is that if English is not your first language, there are other language supports coming in eventually. But for now, if you say, I would like to work on my English and improve my English, and just make sure that when I describe things, the idea is understood better, I would suggest that you use the generative AI art options of OpenAI. So there, you can type in a prompt and describe things. So you can work on practicing that you do better with your prompts to get the message across. Because when you tell them, listen, create an art piece with the following requirements, if you can practice your prompting there, and then it will come up with a picture that might either meet your expectations, exceed it, or underperform because you actually have been terrible at describing things. All right. Anyway, Patrick S. Huge ethical concerns around abound from this using this. Absolutely, which is the reason why, yes, I'm happy to show you all these tools, but I also urge you to please be very responsible with it. And that's why part of my lecture today was to tell you these are the dangers and these are the limitations you need to be aware of. Because if you had not known what these limitations are, it would be very irresponsible for you to just go and say, give me an answer, and then you take that answer as is. All right. Thank you very much. And I think this is the end of the session. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope you will be responsible. Good luck with your research. And thank you to the Research Capacity Development Unit for inviting me. Have a good day further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof, for such an informative session and insightful as well. Thank you. We really appreciate your time you have taken. And to all the participants, the recording will be available tomorrow to all the Blackboard communities. We will upload the link because it will be not from maybe your community where you are registered for. Thank you so much.